For the first time in decades, the world's second largest economy is itself the problem.
The plant's operator began releasing treated radioactive water into the Pacific Ocean.
放出ありきって言われちまうと私は困るんだよね。
It was my third trip to Fukushima Daiichi representing CNA since the triple disaster more than a decade ago. Signs warning visitors they were entering no entry zones used to line the road leading to the plant. There are a lot fewer such signs these days. This as decommissioning of the quake-damaged nuclear power plant entered a new phase. On August 24, 2023, TEPCO, the plant's operator, began releasing treated radioactive water into the Pacific Ocean. The move has sparked anger across the region over contamination fears. Amid the backlash, TEPCO has been organizing tours of its plant and the treated water disposal facility for local and foreign media, including CNA. On this trip, we were shown pipes that are used to transport radioactive wastewater filtered in the advanced liquid processing system, where it's sampled before it's discharged into the Pacific. TEPCO officials were on site to explain how it works. We were told the pipes have the capacity of handling up to 460 cubic meters of treated water each time. In fiscal 2023, TEPCO aims to release more than 30,000 cubic meters of treated wastewater into the sea. It has said the concentration of the radioactive material tritium in the wastewater will be 1,500 becquerels per liter, about 7 times lower than the World Health Organization's recommended limit for tritium in drinking water.
The pipe behind me is mixed with Alps treated water and seawater. Now, this facility to discharge treated wastewater was completed in June this year. In July, the Japanese Nuclear Regulatory Authority gave the green light. And also that month, the IAEA, or the International Atomic Energy Agency, released a comprehensive report.
The IAEA has since set up a permanent office here, pledging to stay with the local residents until the last drop of treated water is discharged. It's a process that could go on for up to 40 years. Through this hole, a sample of treated water going out to sea will be collected for IAEA and Japan's Atomic Energy Agency to inspect. TEPCO said staffers have been monitoring the water discharge operations closely 24/7. System glitches and any seismic activities, for instance, could derail the process.
ここは海抜 2.5 メートルのエリアですので、大きな津波が来るといろいろ設備が損傷する可能性はあると思っています。津波注意報とかが発令された時には処理水をですね、計画的に止めてですね、影響をなるべく少なくするということにはしています。
We spent 4 hours on the facility doing the tightly controlled tour before we were ferried away. Before I headed back, I decided to stop by Tomioka, which lies just 10 kilometers from Fukushima Daiichi. Sandwiched between 2 nuclear power plants, the coastal town suffered indescribable damage following the 2011 earthquake, tsunami, and nuclear meltdown.
It's still reeling from the triple disasters of 2011. Now, visiting here, I find that there are hardly any people in this area. The population is only 20% of what it used to be in 2011.
Residents told me behind camera, even before the triple disaster, their lives have been largely dependent on hosting TEPCO and its workforce. With their livelihoods deeply intertwined with the fortunes of TEPCO, they said they chose to believe that TEPCO was pursuing the right course in decommissioning, and they are supportive of the release of treated wastewater.
From afar, it would seem Hisanohama has fully recovered from the catastrophic event of 12 years ago. On March 11, 2011, a 7-meter-high tsunami struck the tiny coastal town of 2000, causing a fire which could not be extinguished for 2 days. More than half of the homes were destroyed, with 68 people killed. Today, most homes near the coast have been rebuilt. Aftershocks of the 2011 earthquakes have also gradually subsided. Lest people forget, at a local shrine, 3 stone plaques have been erected, with the names of the victims and an epitaph of the disaster engraved on them. For many years, sea products from the region, including Hisanohama, were shunned in Japan and all over the world because of contamination fears. Fishing was banned in the immediate aftermath of the nuclear meltdown before trial fishing resumed in 2013. The Hisanohama fishing port was only fully reopened in 2019. Fisherman Akira Egawa said catch volume is still a far cry from before the triple disasters. He's worried consumers could shun his fish again when TEPCO begins releasing treated radioactive water into the ocean.
海洋放出ありきって言われちまうと私ら困るんだよね。はっきり言って生活も路頭に迷うべし、そうすると今度貢献者だったら魅力ねえびよ。ただ私らは国のからある程度の補助を受けてるってことはそれはありがたいなと思って本当にそれは思ってます。まあとにかく海洋放出反対と。
In 2020, fish catch in Fukushima was only 18% of what it used to be. It didn't help when Japan and the rest of the world had to shut down because of the COVID-19 pandemic. The representative of local fishermen says that he is angry that Fukushima Daiichi wants to release wastewater into the sea. But he assured that fish going out in the market and consumed by the public is safe. Screening is constantly conducted, even after trial fishing has ended in March 2021. At one of 4 labs operating in Fukushima since the nuclear meltdown, a staffer slices up sample fish, which will then be placed into a machine where the level of radiation will be measured. In 5 minutes, the measurement is shown. Only catches that have their sample fish passing the screening will be allowed to be sold. Fisherman Akira Egawa told me the local fishery industry has set the maximum radiation level allowed at 50 becquerels per kilogram, much stricter than the 100 becquerel cap allowed by the national government. That will mean seafood sold at this market, for instance, has met tougher safety standards than what the national government dictates. For Yukio Onozaki, who owns this century-old fish market in Fukushima, there's no reason for consumers to be concerned.
今検査してもほとんど大丈夫なので、そんなには気にせずに当たり前のように浜から来たものをここに出して売ってますね。検査は通って当たり前っていう感じで今やってます。処理水自体が安心安全な水ですから、そういったのをデータとしても出てるので。だから流してでさえも流しても別にそんなには気にはならないです。
A nationwide survey in July said more Japanese were supportive of the water discharge than those who were against it. Still, the government was treating this carefully. On July 5th, the mood inside the hotel ballroom in Fukushima was tense. Representatives of local stakeholders were paying close attention to a presentation by Rafael Grossi, the head of the International Atomic Energy Agency, who was on a weeks-long whirlwind tour around the region to explain the reasoning behind the agency's endorsement of Japan's water release plan.
This is, as certified by the IAEA, the general practice that is agreed by and observed in many, many places all over the world. We are going to stay here with you for decades to come, until the last drop of the water which is accumulated around the reactor has been safely discharged.
According to authorities, the wastewater discharge could continue for up to 40 years. That's how long decommissioning of the plant is expected to take. Riding on top of a wave. Surfers taking part in this competition are not just showing off their tricks. They are also making a statement that they are fearless, dipping in seawater just 20 kilometers away from a nuclear power plant that's been leaking radioactive substances. It's the first time since the triple disasters that here, Iwasawa Beach hosts a surfing competition. It's 20 kilometers from Fukushima Daiichi nuclear plant. For the competition, 190 people registered, or double the expectation. The Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant is right along the coastline further down from Iwasawa. 12 years ago, 3 reactor cores at the plant melted and radiation was released into the atmosphere and ocean after a magnitude 9 earthquake triggered a massive tsunami. At its peak, over 164,000 Fukushima residents from nearby coastal cities, towns, and villages had to abandon their homes as the area became uninhabitable. It was Iwasawa native Kentaro Yoshida's idea to bring back the surfing games this year. His family runs hotels and inns around here. He has seen firsthand how the local community has been hit hard by the triple disaster.
15歳からサーフィンをやってるんですが、この岩沢海水浴場で生まれ育ってですね、もうずっと長年やってきていてですね、震災前に25年続いて大会にも参加したことがありまして、震災が起きてですね、地元の人がいなくなったりとかですね、避難したりとか大変な思いをしたんですが、やっぱり25年続いた大会を復活させようと思って自ら動いて企画をさせていただきました。
But the Japanese government's decision to dispose of treated radioactive water into the ocean could spell trouble for locals again. It's feared that it will once again make Iwasawa untouchable in the eyes of beachgoers. That's exactly why surfers, including this former national champion, decided to brave the waves by joining the surfing games.
心配ですけど、それ言ってたらキリないんで、こうやって海にみんなが浸かることによって、またみんなこう逃げ合うのが一番いいのかなと思います。
The government has said treated water from Fukushima Daiichi will have a negligible impact on the environment. Currently, more than 1 million tons of contaminated water is stored in more than 1,000 steel tanks on its site. From August 24th, they will be released into the ocean over several decades, a move that's angered people at home and abroad.
廃炉の取り組みっていうのは非常に長いスパンで行われるものですので、地元の方もしくは例えばこのサーフィンの大会であれば県外からもいろんな方がいらっしゃいますので、その方たちに丁寧にご説明をし続ける、そういうことかなというふうに思っています。
It will take a generation before Japan and the world can move past the fallout of the 2011 nuclear disaster. With the decommissioning of the damaged power plant, as well as the disposal of treated wastewater expected to take up to 40 years to complete.
Just earlier this year, China was one of the rare bright spots in the global economy against the slowdown in the US and Europe. But by this summer, leaders and investors were seeing a different picture emerge.
For the first time in decades, the world's second largest economy is itself the problem. A property crisis loomed as one of the sector's largest firms missed debt repayment. Growth for the second quarter was sluggish, economic data not looking good, and prices falling into deflation for the first time in 2 years. Policymakers are bracing for the hit from a decline in Chinese demand, which could trigger a trade slump in many countries that count China as their largest export market.
Investors looked to the Chinese government to see if it would do something to prop up the economy. And while they were waiting, in August, Beijing announced it would stop releasing youth unemployment data, citing the need to further improve and optimize labor force survey statistics. Before this, youth unemployment rate had hit record highs this year. In June, more than 1 in 5 youths aged 16 to 24 in urban China was jobless, just as millions were preparing to enter the workforce. It's college graduation season in China, and on social media, posing as corpses in graduation gowns is the new in thing to do. Graduates say it's partly a reflection of the mood of their generation.
因为我们这一届毕业生还是比较多嘛，然后目前就业的话还是有点困难。
最火一个词应该是卷嘛，因为身边很多人肯定都在卷，就是可能带来一种无谓的焦虑吧，就可能也想通过这种照片去释放一下自己，就放松一下。
A record nearly 11.6 million Chinese college graduates are entering the job market this year, but landing their first job could be a struggle.
我刚来深圳的时候，我找了1个月，连一个运营助理的工作都找不到，只是4、5千，还在市区的不包吃住的这种工作我都找不到。
Ms. He graduated with a marketing management degree at the height of last year's pandemic gloom. When she couldn't find her ideal job, she decided not to be picky and accepted an offer at an electronics factory. But she lasted only 5 months before deciding to call it quits.
就是把你当做纯纯的打工机器人一样，不怎么把你当做人来看的，在那里会很难受。你待久了，你会真的是一点思想都没有了。
Ms. He chose to take a pay cut to work at an office job. But to make ends meet, she juggles 2 other side jobs. In the evenings, she sells home-cooked desserts from a street-side pushcart. On weekends, she films and edits videos for clients.
We've seen the declining intention for the young people to work in the manufacturing sector, which I think it's sort of reflecting a structural problem, this mismatch of skills that we are seeing more and more young people hoping to work in the internet sector. But after the crackdown that we saw in 2021, the hiring of the sector has actually shrunk.
China's generation of youths are now its most educated in history. Many are choosing to pursue postgraduate degrees when they can't get gainful employment. But that's created a mismatch between the jobs that graduates want and the jobs that are available. While many are unemployed, China's Ministry of Education forecasts a shortage of nearly 30 million manufacturing workers by 2025.
Higher wages, like the monetary benefits, that would be most important to attract the young people to work in the manufacturing. At the same time, the manufacturing firms also face more intensified competition from the Southeast Asian countries. So I think there's also some limit in terms of how much the manufacturing wages can increase to attract young people to go to work in the sector. So I think the situation is going to get worse.
Factory work used to be a lifeline out of poverty in China, but for millions of youths, it's no longer worth the sacrifices. Mr. Lin doesn't have a college degree. His choices are limited, but after a short stint at a factory, he's decided never to set foot in one again.
工厂一般规矩多啊，不能玩手机啊，或者是反正很多的，他们都有规定的，除非你下班时间或者你要去上个厕所或者之类的，你还要跟人家打个报告，就是这样，到点了你才能出去，这就是工厂。我刚开始出来也是进工厂，后面我就一直没进过了。我干过很多工作，我就不想进厂。
Unable to find a better alternative, Mr. Lin is opting to join the gig economy. He browses online for odd jobs that pays about $30 to $40 by the end of the day. He's not picky, he says. Anything from clearing rubbish to moving goods will do. If he hustles and works 2 gigs a day, he can get more than $2,000 a month, about twice the average fresh graduate salary.
暂时也没有找到合适的工作，我就说 本来是想打点兼职而已，后面就是找嘛，后面觉得这个也可以搞，也是活越来越多了之后，我就选择就做日结。确实现在而且又自由，做完就下班就结钱，结完了就是你不想做了也可以休息。
Economists say wage growth for migrant workers have not returned to pre-COVID levels as a result of weak manufacturing activity and low demand. In turn, depressed wages and a high jobless rate will suppress the appetite for spending, which creates a downward spiral for the economy.
That reflects the cyclical situation is very bad in China. So normally for a company, when the economy is not doing well, the first place that they will think about cutting back employment is the less experienced workers. So I think it's just a reflection of that the companies are very uncertain about the future prospects. And it's also the scarring impact from the COVID situation over the last 3 years.
Yet, changing attitudes towards job environment, exacerbated by an aging population and shrinking birth rate, will create long-term structural mismatch in the labor market. The government has pledged to improve the quality of vocational skill training to address this mismatch. Guangdong, the country's richest province, spearheaded a 3-year plan to send 300,000 unemployed youths to the countryside for a monthly stipend of about $300. It's intended to attract college graduates to revitalize rural economies and relieve the pressure from saturated urban job markets. But it received backlash online as it harks back to former leader Mao Zedong's Down to the Countryside movement, which exiled youths to remote areas. As China transitions towards being a developed economy, experts say without higher pay and better working conditions, the government is waging an uphill battle against the changing expectations of youths towards employment.
Youths may make up only a segment of China's potential workforce, but it has a huge impact on market confidence. Experts say that this is one of the key indicators of China's economic recovery. The world is watching. After a summer of troubles, where will China's economy be heading next?